Hello, 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 and welcome. I am Shane Moore, and this is, of course, the Texas Live podcast. Tonight is a doozy, a big, big show. I've been working on this topic, this very sensitive topic that's certainly going to upset many people and will open a few people's eyes, hopefully many people's eyes. It is what I believe is the greatest political, religious deception of all time in recorded history. This is unbelievable. Some know what is going on. I, for one, I thought I did. I knew some of it, but the rabbit hole goes much, much deeper than I could have ever imagined. We're talking deception at the highest levels, betrayal, just bad things that I will get into. This is something that has been in the works since like the 700 BC. 700s BC. I'll give the exact year later, but this is a group of people who are the true powers that be. They're calling all the shots. They control the world. And I have reasons to believe that after connecting the dots and looking at the key people and their plans, their associations, what they've said, what they haven't said, that I believe that they are about to set everything in motion and basically open Pandora's box, which will change the world or life as we know it. So, buckle your seatbelt, please, because it's going to get very, very bumpy. And I want to say from the very start that I am not racist. I am not picking on any group, any people, any race, creed, belief, anything like that. I'm simply presenting truth. And after I do so, I'll leave it up to you to accept it or reject it. You can join the live chat. I encourage you to do so. And please just feel free to share your opinions, your knowledge on the subject, and any questions you may have. Feel free to ask. And you can also call the show line at 903-956-0055. Outside the U.S., just add 1 to that, the prefix 1, 903-956-0055. We'll take a short break and allow listeners who want to join our live chat to do so. I will be back in 3 minutes.
Since you've gone, I have tried.
And I am back. Hello, Elaine. Glad you joined us. As I always say, one is a lonely number. Anyway, we'll get started shortly. I hope everyone's doing great. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I know that this has been a topic. This has been one that has really taken a lot of time, and there's so much information to cover, and it's definitely going to be a different show, a different presentation, definitely controversial, and like I said, very sensitive, because it deals with it deals with a topic that many people know about on some level. There's no way that you could not know about the things that go on. Now, as far as the facts, it would be better said, maybe to put it like, it's not so much what happens, maybe it's what doesn't happen. We're talking broken promises, favoritism, double standards. Things just don't add up. And one quote that I want to start out with was supposedly, this is a quote by Voltaire. It says, "To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize." And that speaks volumes. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. And when you think about it, think about all of the groups of the world, the races, countries, ethnicities, everything, and think about the one, or if you know more than one, feel free to speak up. But think about who you are not allowed to criticize, to speak against. Matter of fact, it is a crime in many countries. In some countries, people are placed in jail. They're charged with hate crimes. It's incredible. And even in the United States, you're going to run into trouble, and you can have charges brought against you for hate speech, or just a variety of things, for simply speaking, for simply, there's supposed to be free speech, right? Well, not when it comes to the powers that be, the true powers that be. Now, there have been people who have, just a few people that I've seen, read about in my research the last 2 months, especially in the last 2 weeks. It's been very intense. Hey, Georgia, glad you joined us. Yes, it's time to rock and roll. So it's going to get bumpy. And for those of you that are listening, please don't jump to conclusions. Don't think that I'm being racist. Don't think that I'm picking on any one group. I'm not. I'm simply presenting facts, and I'll let you make up your own mind whether to accept it or reject it. All I'm going to do is present what I have found, what I have uncovered, and it's nothing more than what others have uncovered, but I've put the dots together. I've connected the dots, and wow, it's it's mind-blowing. And I have to say that it is not going to be pleasant. You're going to feel betrayed. Many of you will. You're going to feel betrayed. You're going to feel that you're going to feel like you can't trust anyone. And the truth is I would say that with everything that I've seen, with the information that I have, I would say that's a good thing. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust, and when I say anyone, I'm talking about media. Don't trust any form of media. And I know that sounds insane, and it may be, but right now, trust has been compromised. And the powers that be, and I'm going to get to who they are, okay? I'm going to get to who they are in about 15 minutes. So just bear with me. But yes, the powers that be, they are in control of every media source. I'm talking every news source, newspaper, magazines, television, broadcast. There may be one or two news sources that may barely touch on it, but rest assured, if they ask any questions, if they in the least way, if they question or bring up their criticism or their doubts about how certain things happened, or questions about certain people, they're just ignored, or they're ridiculed. That's how these people work. Is they are masters at avoiding the truth, keeping the truth sealed by deception and by intimidating people. Like I said, they ridicule people, and if that doesn't work and people keep talking, then they use other means, and I'll go into that. But sometimes it gets very, very bad, and they have the power to make you or break you. And sometimes it seems that they've actually killed people. They have executed people, because this is something that that has been in the darkness, has been working behind the scenes, undetected, and that's it. It is so powerful, so deceptive, so explosive that it's been said that even powerful people that are in powerful positions, that they dare not even speak about it above their breath for fear of retaliation or fear of punishment. And I'm getting that quote right now. It was made by Woodrow Wilson. Okay, now Woodrow Wilson was, of course, the U.S. president that signed the law, the bill for the Federal Reserve. Okay, which gave these people power, financial power over the United States. And so, and I will get into that because that's how these people, that's how this group controls the world, is financially. Money, money, money. And people say, well, I know it's the Rothschilds. Well, they're part of it. Don't get me wrong, they're part of it. The Rothschilds, their net worth is $500 trillion. Okay, so, personally, if I had $500 trillion, I wouldn't be working. I would be retired forever in a day. So it's kind of hard to imagine, but there's some people that they have so much money that they're not in it for the money. So what could it be? What do powerful people want? They have no need for money. They want more power. They are power hungry, and they're insatiable. And it's just it's incredible that their hunger, their thirst for power has led them to control the entire world. I mean, I'm talking global control. Now, I'm not one to preach, or I'm definitely not religious. So don't think that I'm trying to convert you or trying to make you believe something, or something religious, or that I'm getting preachy on you. I'm not. What I say as far as the Bible, as far as what the Bible says, and this is crystal clear. I mean, this is undeniable, the events that take place. And there's one event that's coming. If it takes place, then that will be a very important, that will be the key point, that will be the key event that will alert, that will let everyone know what's taking place, and that will be when Pandora's box is opened, and it's going to get very, very bumpy, and the world's going to change. President Woodrow Wilson, in 1913, He says, since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacture are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. Woodrow Wilson, The New Freedom, 1913. Okay. So, what is Woodrow Wilson talking about? I mean, is he talking about secret societies? Well, yes, exactly. And the truth is the secret societies that we have thought for so long were individual, separate from each other. They're all one and the same. They're all working towards the same goal. The ones that I have researched and the information that I have, they're all working together. So just for this, for the next, what do we have? 2.5 hours left. The next 2.5 hours, please free your mind from, yes, Elaine, that's part of it. Yep. And that's why I said that this is going to open people's eyes, but it's sure not going to... I'm going to make many more enemies than I am friends. Hopefully that's not the case, but I wouldn't do this if I didn't believe it, if I wasn't sure that I was presenting truth, and because it's something, like I said, it's gonna earn me many enemies, including it may cost me friendships, because there's many people that are part of these groups, and this is, like I said, this is dangerous stuff. I mean, there's been people that have been they've been silenced. So, but we'll move on. But so these people, this group they are responsible, not directly, but indirectly, for, how do I say this? For propagating and promulgating dissension, hatred, division, strife between different people's belief systems, races, their political beliefs. The Republicans and the Democrats, like I said, for the next 2.5 hours, just let go of all those labels, because I assure you they're one and the same. I'm not saying that every senator, that every congressman, that everyone in politics, that they're part of this. But I will say that those who are not, those who refuse to be part of it, they're the ones that they don't stay in Washington long. They don't stay in office long. And in the case of the President of the United States, the last president who took a stand and refused to bend to their will was John F. Kennedy. And you know what happened to him. Assassinated under mysterious circumstances. I don't care what anybody says. You know, Lee Harvey Oswald did it. That's bull. There's no way. I've been to the school book depository. I've been on the 6th floor. There's no way. Not even with, well, maybe with a fully automatic rifle. Maybe. But it would still be hard. I mean, I'm talking, it's ludicrous. And how the bullet zigzagged. And, I mean, for God's sake, there was his head was thrown back towards the school book depository. Do you know that there were bullet holes in the windshield of the limousine? Yeah. Bullet holes. Well, they got rid of that real quick. They got that limo out of there. And, yeah, so people that say, well, yeah, you know, it was lone gunman, you know. No, it wasn't. Jack Ruby, you know, Jack Ruby was connected to Lee Harvey Oswald, right? Jack Ruby, that's what they called him. His name was actually Jacob Rubenstein. I believe you see where I'm going with this. Yes. Jack Ruby, Jacob Rubenstein, it was said he was part of the Chicago Mafia. You know, Al Capone, you know. Let's see, George, you say same thing in Port Arthur. I'm not familiar with that. Now we have Port Arthur, Texas, but I think you're talking about Australia. But feel free to weigh in about that, about what's going on there. Now, hey Patricia, glad you joined us. Now, I do know that there is supposedly things going on in Australia, in the Australian government, or Australian politics that kind of strange. There's just a bad moon rising, okay? There's a bad moon rising in every government, or most governments on Earth. I mean, and I believe that it is due to the fact that of what is about to take place. Okay, now I want to say that to again forget labels, forget creeds, forget belief systems. Just view this from a neutral perspective. No, don't come into this with preconceived notions, because I assure you what you've been told is 99% lies. And you will not believe the lengths that these people go to, and I'm guilty of believing it. At one time I did. At one time I was like, boom, if I saw it on the news or I read it in the newspaper or whatever, I was quick to accept it, When 9/11 happened, I was shocked. And that's when I started to wake up. I was shocked at how quickly that they they knew that Osama bin Laden was guilty, was responsible for it. And I'm thinking, how can you be sure? And the truth is the U.S. attacked Iraq for these non-existent weapons of mass destruction. Slaughtered, killed, murdered, 220,000 plus Iraqis? Just absolutely unbelievable. And then you have ex-President George W. Bush say, well, we thought he had them. We thought they had them, but didn't. Look, I don't care. I don't care what country it is. I don't care who you are. If you kill one person because you thought something, and then you find out that you were wrong. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and that's wrong. Much less 220,000 men, women, and children. And I'm not being unpatriotic, and I'm not against our country. I love our country. But again, right is right and wrong is wrong. And for anyone, especially a president or leader of a nation, to stand up and say, well, we thought they had them. That is, hey, Nazreen, glad you joined us. But for that to take place, that is just unbelievable and unacceptable on every level. And I cannot fathom, I cannot understand why that the people responsible, that they have not been charged with war crimes. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not anti-government, I'm not anti-American, I'm not anti-anything. I'm just simply speaking the truth. I don't, if someone in any other country did the same thing, if they attacked a sovereign nation with no real proof, just hey, we think he's got them, pretty sure he has them, and then he doesn't, they would be brought up on war crimes, and they would pay. Definitely, they would pay. Okay, I'm not saying that Saddam Hussein was a nice guy. Okay, from what I've heard, which now I'm definitely not trusting that. From what I've heard, he was a very, very cruel dictator, and not a nice guy. But I have also read that because he was such an intimidating and bad guy, that he kept all of the really, really bad guys, the bad people in Iraq, in check. Because they knew that if they got out of line, they knew that if they committed crimes, that it would be hell to pay when Saddam got a hold of them. And they knew he would. Same thing with Gaddafi. in Libya. What happened? Gaddafi goes to take the Libyan gold and put it against the US dollar. And you see, the truth is our paper money is supposed to be backed by gold, correct? Matter of fact, it is against the U.S. Constitution for us to have paper money. We're not supposed to have paper money. It's completely wrong. It's completely against the Constitution. Because paper money is nothing but an IOU. Well, go figure. There's not enough gold, not enough silver to cover the IOUs. So what does that mean? Well, it means that now everything's digital, so, paper money is going to be a thing of the past soon. Everything's digital. It's almost like, okay, well, if you want to borrow money, it's all done digitally, and they just type it in and kind of like put it against what you have, or what better term would be what you don't have. But it's kind of like a video game, an interactive, like the Sims. Like if you had a bank account in the Sims, I mean, you don't really have it, but you've got power in that game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that if everyone took their paper money, which is, yes, exactly, Elaine, smoke and mirrors. Yes, Bitcoin, same thing. If everyone took their paper money and went to the bank and said, I want this backed up. Oh man. There would be a revolution and people would riot, because I guarantee you there is not even, it's not even close to being the amount of gold to back up the paper money that's been printed. It's not there. It's just not there. So, if something were to happen like the grid crashing, or a major a catastrophe of like global proportions, like an asteroid hits the earth or something like that, what do you think paper money is going to do for you? Well, nothing. Let's see. I mean, as far as backed up, that your paper money is nothing more than an IOU. And it's supposed to be backed up by gold or silver, but gold is the standard. And there has been much more paper money that has been printed than there is gold to back it up. So we're talking about, that paper doesn't have any value at all. It's just what is supposed to back it up, as far as gold and silver. But the gold is just not there. Now it's there to some degree, but it's not even close to covering how much IOUs paper money has been printed. So no, it's fine. It's fine, Patricia. So Gaddafi had tons, like 380 tons of Libyan gold. And he made the mistake of telling about it. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, it was gold and silver, Yeah, precious metals, livestock, barter system. You have something of worth, someone else has something of worth, you barter, you make a trade, but this is paper money? Yeah, try that with a barter system. When there's nothing to back that paper, that IOU up, and see how your trade deal goes. It's going to collapse. I mean, it's not going to be there. So, right. So, Gaddafi has all this gold, and he decides to let the world know that he's putting it against the US dollar, which he knew wasn't backed up. So when people had the chance to invest in the US dollar or the Libyan currency, which was going to be the dinar, we're talking 99.99% pure gold. Which do you think they were going to invest in? The paper money, knowing that it's just not there, or the Libyan gold? Of course, the Libyan gold. Which is why that this everyone got so worried about Gaddafi and the Gaddafi regime supposedly bombing and abusing their own people. So what happens? United States starts bombing Libya. And Hillary Clinton, look it up on YouTube. Hillary Clinton is laughing about Gaddafi, being killed. You know how Gaddafi was killed? I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. No one deserves to die like Gaddafi died, or be murdered like Gaddafi was murdered, executed, whatever. And Hillary Clinton is laughing about it. I mean, literally laughing about it. Gaddafi was sodomized with bayonets in the street. That's not funny to me. I don't care who you are. I think it takes someone who is a complete psychopath to even find that the least bit humorous. Okay? And that's what I'm talking about. These people are, and have proven through history to be, psychopaths. When did he die, Patricia? When Libya was when the U.S. Bombed Libya. Let's see. October 20th, 2011. That's when he died. So, and Saddam Hussein was hanged December the 30th, 2006 in Baghdad. And They had the noose, they had the gallows, and they hanged him. I mean, so, and this Saddam Hussein was personal friends with the Bush family. So what happened? What happened to make, I don't know, to make friends? I mean, they were friends, and then they're not friends. Next thing you know, hey, it's lynching time. You know, it's time for you to hang. Well, Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction. That's not why he was hanged. There were charges brought against him for this or that. But it's amazing that Saddam Hussein was planning to do the same thing that Gaddafi did. Was planning to charge, yes, commodities war. Saddam was planning to raise the prices on Iraqi oil. Now remember that. Iraqi oil. He was going to raise the prices. And he did. He's like, guess what? Prices just went up on oil that you need from our vast oil fields. And when that happened, he signed his own death certificate. Because when you do something like that, money. Follow the money, but better yet, follow the power. And money is power to those who don't have $500 trillion. Those that are that rich, I mean, they don't care about money. They have no need for money. They just want more power. So, but the same thing applied to Saddam. Or the same thing applied to Gaddafi. After Gaddafi was executed in the streets, there were 34 groups or gangs, I forget what they call them, but that were like very, very crazy. I mean, you know, just violent, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. But Gaddafi, they feared Gaddafi. They knew that Gaddafi would really, really lay the law down. Well, everything was really good in Libya. After Gaddafi was executed, it's like all hell broke loose. And guess what? All the Libyan gold was confiscated, was taken, so people wouldn't steal it. Now, is that insane? Or what? I mean, you go into a country, you bomb the country, because you say, well, this guy's, harming his own citizens. Bomb the country, execute him in the street in the most horrible way, and then you take the gold to keep people from stealing it, during the upheaval in the country and everything. Elaine, you say Libyans had already bombed the Navy ship. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay. All right. I'm going to say that, okay, yes, that would definitely be the straw that that would break the camel's back. Okay? But, let's see. What I want to talk about is how there is so many false flag events. I'm not saying that this was one of them, but I'm just saying that there are so many false flag events that are carried out to begin wars, and because wars are very profitable. Wars make money. Peace doesn't make money, but wars do. Have you ever noticed, have you ever asked yourself, okay, they say that, a certain percentage of the world that people go hungry, that there's just not enough money, not enough resources to feed everybody in the world. So there's little kids that go to sleep hungry at night. There's kids that starve to death, for God's sake. And they say that there's not enough wealth. There's not enough money to feed the hungry. And, okay. But you let war break out. And you've got trillions, you've got billions of dollars worth of bombs, nuclear bombs, all this high tech, warfare. These ships, $8-9 billion ships, nuclear submarines, and everything. You've got all this, and you're telling me that there's people that go hungry because there's just not enough resources to. That's a lie. That's a lie. See, Elaine, you say, wait. Patricia, you say, I've just never heard of this. Gaddafi, it's G-A-D. Okay, thank you, Elaine. She got you there. Okay, and let's see. Elaine, you say there has always been tensions in the region and with our government that seems to shift through greed, etc., with oil, money, gas, and water in the future. Yes, but there's something else there, and I'm about to get there. I'm about to drop the bomb. Okay, not literally for any agency or whatever listening. I did not mean that literally. So do not come bust my door down. Which after this show, it wouldn't surprise me. So anyway, and you say, Elaine, we go and send $1 billion in gold in shipping containers, and they are all of a sudden missing. Exactly. Elaine, when did this bombing happen? This Libyan bombing, as far as the ship, because I'm not finding it. Yeah. Well, it's spelled sometimes, Patricia. It's spelled with a G, sometimes with a Q. So you're good. Okay, 1986, and they didn't bomb Libya until 2011. So that's a long time before you finally decide to take him out or to punish Libya or whatever. I mean, but as far as as far as Iraq, as far as the Middle East, okay, what was the general's name? Wesley. I'm just going blank here. Wesley. Hold on. General Wesley Clark. He said that he went to see Rumsfeld, Donald Rumsfeld, after, like a week after 9/11, a week or 2 weeks after 9/11, at the Pentagon. And he said that when he went in, he said that Donald Rumsfeld told him, said, we're about to do something that, I think this was a week after 9/11. He said, we're about to do something that that's, going to benefit us. And General Wesley Clark says, what is it? He says, we're going to bomb, we're going to invade Iraq. And he said, why? I mean, did they have something to do with the Twin Towers? And he says, no. And Wesley Clark says, well, why are we going to bomb Iraq? And he said, Donald Rumsfeld looked at him and said, listen, no one on earth is going to tell me, is going to tell the United States who we can bomb and who we cannot bomb. We'll bomb whoever, whenever, and however we want. And he said he was just mortified. So, he said he walks out of Rumsfeld's office, and there's a person there, I don't know, another general or something, and he said that he says, hey, he says, I want to give you this. And Wesley Clark, he's a general, he knows protocol, and he says, wait, is that classified? And he says, yes. And he says, I don't want to see it. Because he had just left Rumsfeld's office, and Rumsfeld was pretty happy about, what was going on. And so Wesley Clark said, he said, I had my guard up, and he says, I don't want to see it if it's classified. He says, but, and the guy said, well, he said, for God's sake, he says, Rumsfeld just said, we're going to bomb Iraq, And he said, well, what this classified document is he says, it talks about how we're going to take over, we're going to bomb 7 different countries, or states, whatever, in the next 5 years. He says, and that's Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Sudan, or, take over, topple those governments. And the last one was Iran. Okay. Within 5 years, 6 of those countries had been toppled. Leadership had been toppled. The only one remaining is Iran. Now, do you remember John McCain? John McCain, that, oh man. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just talking truth. I'm just speaking truth. The guy, I did not respect him at all. And I'm sorry if that upsets people, but I know there's many people that didn't respect John McCain. John McCain was a total jerk. And people say, well, you know, he was shot down and he was held prisoner of war, you know. And he's an American hero. Blah, 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 blah. Big deal. I'm sorry, but when the Viet Cong actually named him the Canary because he sang so much, he gave them information that put his fellow soldiers in danger, in jeopardy. I mean, come on. I mean, how can you play the hero when you did that? I mean, and I'm telling you, it seems like everything has been a big lie. Just like after 9/11. Okay, on the news, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all these news channels that I used to watch and everything, which I would not touch with a 10-foot pole now. Not even get near them. They were showing Palestinians dancing in the streets in Gaza, celebrating the attacks, right? And I remember being so enraged. I'm like, oh man, they need to pay. They need to suffer. We need to take revenge. And just because they're laughing about this horrible nightmare. I mean, and the truth is those supposed video recordings of Palestinians dancing in the streets because celebrating the Twin Towers and the massive loss of life, massive loss of American lives, and was fabricated. They weren't dancing celebrating the Twin Towers. They were dancing because it was a video of it was Palestinian, but they were giving these people candy. This was something that wasn't even remotely associated with 9/11 and what happened. It was an old video. But they cut out the part, that these people were being given candy and food, and they were dancing because they were getting food, for God's sake, and candy. Not because they were praising, they were happy that, almost 3,000 people died. That's a damn lie. That was media at its best. I mean, misguided to misguide you and to enrage you against the targeted people or targeted individuals. Like I said, they're masters at it. So, John McCain, his father, John McCain Jr., was a U.S. admiral, and he was responsible, or he was in charge of the cover-up. And here we go. The cover-up for the attack on the USS Liberty. And the attack on the USS Liberty was 34 sailors died. And it was something that that still is very, very strange, to say the least. The USS Liberty incident was an attack on the United States Navy technical research ship, the USS Liberty, by Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft and Israeli Navy motor torpedo boats on June 8, 1967, during the Six-Day War. Now, you do the research. You read what happened. You watch the videos. John McCain's father was the one that was left to clean up or to cover up the mess, and it was a mess. 34 sailors died, were killed. 171 were wounded. And John McCain's father, John S. McCain Jr., Chief of the U.S. Naval Forces in Europe, Admiral John McCain, he was put in charge by LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, to cover up the whole incident. Now, the Israeli fighter jets, they dropped napalm on the USS Liberty. I mean, that's like light. It's gasoline gel on fire. I mean, these sailors, they were burned. They were dropping 500-pound bombs. They wanted to sink this ship. They wanted to sink it. But by the grace of God, they didn't. And I mean, this ship was on fire, taking heavy damage. Oil was spilling out into the ocean. And they said that it was a case of mistaken identity. But you listen to the radio. You watch the video. You watch the recordings, and you tell me if it was a case of mistaken identity, or if it was a case of a potential false flag sinking of the USS Liberty so they could blame it on Egypt or some other country as a reason to invade and take over the land. Okay, fast forward to present day, what I just talked about. Invading Iraq, Afghanistan, this, that. Do you know that it has never been proven? There's no proof that Osama bin Laden was responsible. When you get right down to it, there's no proof. If if it was in a courtroom and they said, okay, yeah, Desert Storm, exactly. Thank you, Elaine. Yeah. Okay. What is going on? This is insanity. Okay. Yeah, right, Patricia. Yeah, LBJ, oh man, talk about a bad dude. I mean, yeah. But remember John McCain, when these people are psychos. They are completely crazy. They're not crazy. They are evil. And you know me, I don't really like using the term good and evil, because it's all based on individual perceptions, perspectives. What one people see as a freedom fighter, somebody else sees as a terrorist. So but this is evil through and through, because you have McCain, exactly, and the axis of evil is centered in the last place that you would imagine. And I'm getting to it. But I want to lay the framework, because when I connect the dots, you'll see. John McCain is tells the world, they're talking to him about, what he says, yes, axis of evil, yes. And that's something that you have to watch for, is they repeat different terms, different phrases, axis of evil, the terrorist, war on terror, weapons of mass destruction. He has weapons of mass destruction. And but John McCain is basically tells the world, and he's laughing about it. He says, bomb, 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 Iran, bomb, 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 Iran. He's singing a frickin' song, smiling like the cat that ate the canary. And I'm thinking, what in the hell is wrong with this guy? Well, he wants war, because war means money for him and everybody else. And I'm thinking, okay, but he's smiling because that's what he wants. He wants the money. He wants the revenue from that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, he doesn't give a damn about all the American young men and women that would die in that war. He doesn't give a damn about them. And he claims to be so patriotic and everything. No. You're in it for you. And that's just it. Greed has taken over. And when I say empty promises, like I said, I'm not taking sides. I'm not judging anyone. I'm presenting the truth. And when I come back, I'm just going to lay it out and let the cards fall where they may. And yeah, Elaine, you've got a personal weapon of mass destruction called a 9mm. That's right. Would not want to be on the receiving end of that. But take a short break and be back in 3 minutes. Now I'm back. Okay. um, what I want to talk about is just get to the point of tonight's discussion. Is things are not what they seem. Okay. When I said the quote from Voltaire, if you want to know who is truly in power, look at those who it's unlawful to criticize, who you cannot criticize. And this goes right along with what is taking place today in the world of politics and religion. Okay, the two things that I hate most, because I've always said that I will not talk about politics. I won't argue about politics or religion, because it does nothing, it leads to nothing good. It's caused more pain, more sorrow, more death, hatred, discord than anything. And it's like poison. But the right now, well, what I'm talking about is the group that no one can criticize or speak out against or even question most of the time is modern day Israel. Now, this is coming from someone who is a Christian and was active in, I used to be years ago, back in my 20s, when I believed all the hype and all the lies, all the deceit, the propaganda. I was all for it. I was all for, Zionism is what it's called. For those of you that are listening that may not know what Zionism is, Zionism is the movement to for recognizing Israel as the it's the belief that Jews should have their own nation, Jewish nationalism. Zionism gained much support among Jews and others in the early 20th century, and the hope for a nation was established in the late 1940s, actually 1948, in Palestine as the State of Israel. Now, it was in fact, Israel was regrouped as a nation in 1948. But who owned the land? Who donated the land for quote unquote Israel to be regrouped as a nation? Which was a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, by the way. But someone had to, right, Elaine. But someone had to donate the land. It just didn't. They say, God. The Bible says that God gave the land of Israel, the promised land, to the Israelis, to the Israelis. Palestine got a little strip called Gaza. Okay, that's what I want to talk about, is the ungodly and the horrible atrocities. And damn, it's genocide towards the Palestinians. Okay, now this goes back to the twin brothers of Isaac, Jacob and Esau. Okay, Jacob, who later became Israel, is, the Israelis. Okay, Esau, who the Bible says God hated because he sold his birthright. He was the oldest. He sold his birthright for basically a bowl of soup. He didn't, and that's a bad thing in that culture to do that. So it says God hated Esau. God loved Jacob, but he hated Esau. And so the Palestinians, they're seen as children of Esau, and the Israelis are seen as children of Jacob, correct? Okay. But, get this. And I just want you to know that if I lose power or I get kicked off the air and I'm not able to come back on, you'll know why. Because it has happened. It has happened to several people talking about this, bringing this up. Like I said, it is something that in many countries, including the United States, you can be charged with hate crimes, hate speech, whatever. Okay, remember in the Bible when Jesus was when the Pharisees approached Jesus. They were the religious leaders of that day. And not only that, but they controlled everything. They controlled the people. They ruled over the people by deception and by by the rules. The 613 rules, the man-made rules. Jesus called them the traditions of men. He says you follow the traditions of men and you make the word of God of no effect. He says, you're doing this for your benefit. You're using these people. You're keeping knowledge that could help them away from them. He says, you travel. He says, you're whitewashed tombs. He says, with dead men's bones inside. He says, you look good on the outside. You appear to be good. You appear to be spiritual, but inside you're rotten. You stink. Who is he talking about? I mean, really, think about it. Would he be talking to the true Israeli people, to the true Israeli leadership? No. This goes back to 740 BC, when there's a nation. There was a nation, the Khazaria, and they follow, and this is a very, very rabid, violent, murderous, hateful, psychotic, religious teaching book called the Talmud. But it's not the Jewish Talmud, which I'll get to that. Matter of fact, the term Jew was not even used. It was created in 1770. So as far as thinking that the Jewish people or the Jews have been around for, were called Jews back in biblical times, that's simply not true. It's a term that was invented in 1770 is when it was first used, and the rest is history. Okay, in 740 BC, the Khazars, they took advantage of they took advantage of an opportunity. I'm trying to find this. They were so wicked, or were so evil, that they were forced by their king, Bulan, or their king was forced to accept Judaism, and he did accept Judaism, but the Babylonian Talmud is what the Khazarian Jews go by, and it is absolutely, look up the Babylonian Talmud, and you tell me what it sounds like. I mean, we're talking pedophilia. We're talking. It is absolutely what Jesus told the Pharisees when they told him that they said, "Who are you to teach these things?" And he said, "I teach these things." He said, "I only teach what my Father in heaven tells me to teach." And they said, "Oh, so you're saying that you're the Son of God?" And he says, "No, you said it." So they say, well, we are children of Abraham. Basically saying we're the children of God. And he said, no. He said, if Abraham was your father, he says, he would have rejoiced. He said, you would know that Abraham would have rejoiced in this day. Telling them, because Abraham would know who I am. He says, but you're of your father, the devil. He was a murderer from the beginning, and his native language is lies. And when he speaks it, when he lies, he's speaking his native language, because he was a murderer and a liar from the beginning. And you're just like him. You're following in his footsteps. And they're like, excuse me? I mean, really? Because at that time, if there was anyone that spoke out against them, just like now, you'd be punished. And a lot of times you'd be executed. You'd be stoned. You would, and not in a good way, or not in the way you're thinking. You would be stoned. You'd be stoned right there for blasphemy, Yeah. Well, yeah, Patricia. It goes so far as to say that, now, this is insane, okay? But this is what they don't want you to know, is that that they are so hell-bent on ruling. And I'm talking not just ruling, though. I mean, I'm talking slavery. They say that because they're God's chosen people, that, well, the Babylonian Talmud, which, these so-called Jewish people, this is what Jesus said. Jesus said in John chapter 8, verse 44, he says, "You are of your father the devil, and you want to do the desires of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning and doesn't stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks his own native language, for he is a liar and the father of it." Jesus goes on to say in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9, he says, "I know the blasphemy of those saying themselves to be Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan." Revelation chapter 3, verse 9, he says the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. The synagogue of Satan, their father is the devil, and they do his desires. Okay, now I have newspaper clippings where New World Order pledged to Jews, and this was back in like the 1920, something like that. Okay. In 1917 is when Russia, when the Bolshevik Revolution took place in Russia. That was perpetrated by these Khazars. These people from Khazaria. They toppled Russia, executed the royal family, the Romanovs. There's a man, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He says, "You must understand, the leading Bolsheviks who took over Russia were not Russians. They hated Russians. They hated Christians, driven by ethnic hatred." Remember that. Ethnic hatred. They tortured and slaughtered millions of Russians without a shred of human remorse. It cannot be overstated. Bolshevism committed the greatest human slaughter of all time. The fact that most of the world is ignorant and uncaring about this enormous crime is proof that the global media is in the hands of the perpetrators. End of quote. It's been said that Hitler killed 6 million Jews, correct? Okay, well, are you aware that number changed, like down to 4 million? And then when the census was taken in Germany, there was not 6 million missing. There was not 6 million less. There was not 4 million less. I'm not taking anything away from the Holocaust victims. I'm simply speaking truth. Look it up. Don't listen to what people say or what people tell you, what people report. Look at the census and you'll see where's the number. I mean, where's that 6 million? I mean, that's a lot of people. But I mean, it seems to me like that something of that magnitude, that you wouldn't just round off a number. You wouldn't just say 6 million. Okay, if it was 4 million, you'd say 4 million. If it was 1.5 million, you'd say 1.5. The truth is I've read that it definitely wasn't 6 million. Now they're saying 4 million, and some are saying 1.5 million. But the census doesn't show much of a change at all. So I'm not denying that it took place. I'm just saying, look it up. Look up the census, and you will see for those years, I mean, how does that work? Again, I'm not denying it. I mean, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the video. I've heard the victims' testimonies, and I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying, explain that. Explain how the census can, the discrepancy there. Okay? Now, so what I'm saying is that Hitler was, of course, took power, but why did he take power? Who put him in power? They did. The Rothschilds, whatever you want to call them, they're called the Khazarian Mafia, KM for short now. But they're definitely not who they say they are. And in the state of Israel now, every building has the name Rothschild or Rockefeller on it. Now you tell me, the Rothschilds, they are Khazarian. They're from Khazaria. There have been DNA tests, haplogroups, and everything, and it has been determined that that those who say that they're of Israel, they're not. Okay? They're not. They're pretending to be something. They're pretending to be people that they're not. Khazaria in the Caucasus, far north of Israel, Palestine, where there was a mass conversion to Judaism in the 8th century, 740 BC. I'm sorry, 740 AD. A minute. Okay. These people with no connection to ancient Israel moved up into Eastern and Western Europe, and then headed for the U.S. and Israel to become today's Jewish population. Okay, now the Palestinians who Israel has, I mean, for God's sake, they've got nuclear weapons. Okay? You take any country in the Middle East right now, any country in the Middle East, besides Pakistan, they're not allowed to have nuclear weapons, right? Is everybody with me on that? Think about that. Every Middle Eastern country, there's no Middle Eastern country that is allowed to have nuclear weapons. That's why Iran is being targeted, because they want to make sure that they're not working on developing nuclear power. Not even nuclear weapons, to be exact. I mean, just, they're not allowed to work on nuclear power. But rest assured, Israel is loaded to the gills with nuclear weapons. Absolutely. How does that work? Okay? And get this. The Palestinians, that's just, like I said last, podcast, look on YouTube if they haven't taken it down, and you will see how that there are checkpoints, like every half mile, or every mile at least, or every 2 miles, whatever. But I'm talking, it seems like every half mile there's a checkpoint where the Palestinians, they have to stop. And from what I saw, the Israeli soldiers, they give these people hell. I mean, just, And this this elderly man's taking his wife to the hospital because she's hemorrhaging. And she's in bad shape. And they make him get out of the car, and they're young soldiers, and they just have this air of superiority, and I wonder why. And you can just see it, and it's so evil. And I'm calling it for what it is. It is evil. Now, they say the Palestinians are evil. You know what? I didn't see a damn bit of evil with the Palestinian man. Not at all. What I saw as evil were the 3 Israeli soldiers who began questioning him and then humiliating him, and then smashed his face in with the butt of their rifle. And when he hit the ground crying, they began kicking him in the ribs and laughing at him because he couldn't breathe, while his wife's bleeding to death in the freaking car. But no, you won't see that on any news channel. You won't see anyone reporting on that. But you let a Palestinian throw a rock into Israel, and every damn camera in the world is on that. How does that work? I mean, when is enough enough? And why is the world sitting and watching these little Palestinian children being blown to bits? You know, all the time. Look it up. Look up how many Palestinians have been massacred. And why? Because it is an ideology. It is a belief system of these. And I'm not saying that everyone in Israel now is part of this. I'm speaking against those who are part of it. Those who are part of this Khazarian Jewish mafia. And they have made it to where anyone who speaks out against the Zionist Talmudic agenda are automatically labeled anti-Semitic. Now wait a minute. Anti-Semitic. Semitic refers to the Semitic languages, right? Semitic language? Okay. Well, ask yourself this. Why is it perfectly fine? No one says anything. Hey, Randy, glad you joined us. Why is it that no one says anything if you talk about the Palestinians, if you talk about the Arabs? They're Semitic peoples. It's fine. No problem. Talk your ass off. Just, whatever you want to say about them is fine. But you say one thing criticizing Israel, and you are labeled anti-Semitic. Hold on. That's that should tell you right there that there's something not quite right about that. So you speak out against the Zionists. You speak out against the Zionist agenda, which now includes Christian evangelical leaders like John Hagee in San Antonio, Kenneth Copeland, and Pat Robertson, Gordon Robertson, 700 Club. You've got all these people. You got all these Christians who are pulling for the nation, the Jewish people. And John Hagee, Big John Hagee, listen to me. I created Kufi, the coalition, or Christians, I don't know, some Jewish, he raises money for Israel. Well, if you've done your research, Israel's not exactly needing money, if you know what I mean. I mean, they're not anywhere near broke. Not at all. Okay? And he says, boy, the Jewish people are God's people, and he says it is the Christian. He says God commands the Christians to stand with Israel. And I'm thinking, okay, but what if Israel does wrong like they have in the past, like they did in the Bible? Then what? Well, you still stand with Israel. Oh, good. Good, Randy. Okay, well, how about those that follow the Babylonian Talmud that says that all Gentiles are goyim, cattle, and are subhuman and should be wiped off the face of the earth? Should we stand with them then? I mean, well, yes, they're God's chosen people. And God said, those who bless you, I will bless. You know what? The truth is after reading what they follow, what they believe, they don't want you to know this. Read about the Talmud. Read the Babylonian Talmud. Read some of the things in the Babylonian Talmud. It says that and they're currently trying to have the Noahide laws enforced in the United States. This is what I believe is going to be the New World Order is going to be the 7 Noahide laws are going to be enforced, and they're going to be enforced by the Sanhedrin, which is the 70-man, the 70 rabbi, whatever, Jewish court group or whatever, the very ones that sentenced Jesus, that tried Jesus, and beat him, spit in his face, and get this, they laugh about it. They laugh about Jesus. Matter of fact, they say, and they're proud about it, they say, yeah, we killed him. We killed him. And they said, and now he is in hell, boiling in feces. And we couldn't be happier. Now you tell me, John Hagee, you tell me Franklin Graham, you tell me Mike Huckabee, you tell me Pat Robertson, you tell me Gordon Robertson, Paula White, James Dobson, you tell me how you, being Christians, can promote anything that these Zionists, that these Babylonian Jews who follow the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, how can you accept that? I mean, how can you overlook what they're saying? And is it money? I mean, we all know that, that people are paid off. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of money changing hands and taking place, being transferred, and people being paid off and everything. John Hagee, I mean, this guy lives in a lives in a huge house. He's got so much money, and it's he has power. I mean, he has political power, and he's always since the early '90s when I've started listening to him. He's always had connections with Israel. I'm talking like in the '70s. I mean, he had connections with Israel, and he's always been involved in politics. Matter of fact, he was with John McCain, wanting to bomb Iran. That's weird. Why? Well, follow the money, follow the power. Okay, well, what this plan has been, from what I've read, from what I've uncovered, is that the plan has been to enlarge the homeland of Israel. Not as far as its borders, but as far as protecting Israel on all sides, and it includes Jordan. It includes part of Iraq, believe it or not. Surprise there. Includes Afghanistan and Lebanon. Hello. What? Israel bombed Lebanon in what? 2009, I believe it was. So, and it is every country surrounding Israel has basically been toppled, or they've been bombed, or they've suffered. I mean, 6-Day War, it was with Egypt and or with all the surrounding countries. It is really it's really something. I mean, it's just it's amazing that there is that John Hagee talks about. I saw John Hagee on this giving this interview, and they asked him, and man, I met him in person, okay, and he is the founder of CUFI, Christians United for Israel, the largest grassroots organization for Israel in the United States. I mean, this guy, he is a Zionist fanatic. I mean, just, like I said, God said those who bless Israel, God will bless, and he says, and we should bless Israel. I'm saying we should not stand with anyone who murders, who follows the Babylonian Talmud, or it may be the Jewish Talmud. I mean, I don't really know the difference between them, but the Talmud was something that the Israeli people, that the children of Israel learned from the Babylonians when they were in captivity. And it encourages and it justifies pedophilia. It says that a Jewish man may have sex with a little girl if she's 3 years and a day old, but not. It's not classified as a sin or being wrong if it's a perverted rape. It's only a sin if it is a normalized, if it's a normal, a natural rape, whatever the hell that is. They say that because if it's perverted, that somehow can't be dealt with in the in the courts, since it's perverted. So they're saying, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Yeah, Randy. You say you've missed us all. We missed you too. Hell, I missed everybody. I've been so busy doing this, getting all this ready, and I've been kind of sick too. Mona had a sore throat, and I got it, and then it moved down in my chest. But I've been taking antibiotics and steroids, so look out. I'm like the Hulk now, so not hardly. Okay, you say, I felt like I've been wandering around lost or just going through the motions for a bit, and over the last couple of days, it's like I was handed a flashlight. Well, good. Right. And there's a way to do anything with a child like that that's not perverted. Well, in their eyes, get this. They say, the Talmud says that it's perfectly fine. Because, says it's perfectly fine that it is no more than it's like putting your finger in your eye. It's going to hurt a little bit, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Seriously, look it up. Talmud, Talmud, the Jewish Talmud. Look up I don't know, the horrible teachings of the Jewish Talmud. And see, they don't want anyone, they don't want us to know what it says. It says death to Christians, death to anyone who is not a Jew. Like I said, the term Jew was invented and began being in use in 1770. So it's not like, that they were called Jews back in biblical times. They weren't. Okay. This is what I want to talk about is after the Bolshevik Revolution, which brought Lenin to power. Okay. Do you know that it's like this man here says this Alexander Schulzenheitzen, he says you must understand the leading Bolsheviks who took over Russia were not Russians. They hated Russians. They hated Christians. Driven by ethnic hatred, they tortured and slaughtered millions of Russians without a shred of human remorse. And when he says that, he's not kidding. What they did, the way they killed people, the way they tortured people, it's so horrific that they can't even, they can't even print it. It's ungodly. It's demonic. Okay? Do you know how many Russian Christians and actual actual Russian Israelis, or for lack of a better term, the actual Jewish, Jewish people. Do you know how many were killed, were tortured and slaughtered? It's estimated 66 million. 66 million were slaughtered, tortured, without a shred of human remorse. It was the greatest human slaughter of all time. And he says the fact that most of the world is ignorant and uncaring about this enormous crime is proof that the global media is in the hands of the perpetrators. Now that is another thing I want to talk about, is that they control the media. They control the internet. They control all communication. Radio, telephone, cell phone companies. They are literally, they're in control. They're guarding all the doors. They're holding all the keys. Got to give them credit for that. They've covered all the bases. But it's taken time, and it's taken effort, and it's taken focus and a methodical, they're going to reach this mission. They're going to reach their goal. And their goal is to put their Messiah in Jerusalem and say, hey, the Messiah's here. And he's going to do something that no one has ever done in human history. He's going to make a peace treaty between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Quote unquote. Maybe not who they is. Jewish people who aren't really Jewish people, but are Khazarians, claiming to be Jews. You follow me? Okay. This man makes a peace treaty between the Palestinians, who are viewed as the sons of Esau, the children of Esau, which the Bible says God hated, and they view themselves as the sons of Jacob, the children of Jacob, who God loved. But I mean, for God's sake, you don't commit genocide against someone just because of their ethnicity. I mean, you just don't. That's wrong. Those are human beings. But not according to the Talmud. Talmud says they're subhuman, and so is everyone else that's not Jewish. That we don't deserve to live. And if we do live, we only deserve to live as long as we serve our Jewish masters. Well, I got news for you. It'll be a cold day in hell before I do. I don't care if you are a prince, a pauper, or the Pope. I'm not serving you. I'll be nice to you. I'll respect you as long as you respect me. But I get the feeling that these people, they don't respect anyone. They only respect their own kind, and if you're not part of them, then you're scum. Matter of fact, That's what they. That's what they. They actually say that that a cow is better than a goyim, which that means cattle, and they talk about how superior they are intellectually and how stupid we are, and well, there's some of us that aren't quite as stupid as they think, and but it says that as far as the Noahide laws, it says that, and I will read these to you. It says, let's see. All right. Under the Jewish Encyclopedia envisages a Noahide regime as a possible world order immediately preceding the universal reign of the Talmud. Now, this is something that I read after the last podcast we had, where I was talking about this is coming. This is what they're going to do. They're going to enact their own laws, their own religious system, their own political system. And here we go. It says that the U.S. presidents and Congress urged the adoption of the Noahide laws as interpreted by Chabad Lubavitch Grand Rabbi Schneerson. Now get this. The Chabad Lubavitch Grand Rabbi Schneerson happens to be the rabbi that the Chabad Lubavitch, that the Chabad Jewish Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka Trump went and prayed at Grand Rabbi Schneerson's grave on the eve of the elections, praying that Trump would win. And Trump won. And they credit Rabbi Schneerson with that win. Okay, now that should tell you something. Listen to this. Professor Easterly of the Southern University Law Center, a Jewish legal expert, has compared this public law, mask, to the first rays of dawn, which evidence the rising of a still unseen sun. S-U-N. Okay. The Jewish Encyclopedia envisages a Noahide regime as a possible world order immediately preceding the universal reign of the Talmud. The Talmud? Ooh. Talmud encourages murder of everyone that's not Jewish. That it's okay for Jewish people to steal from non-Jews. It's okay to murder non-Jews. It's okay to sleep with a Gentile man's wife. It's okay to they teach it's okay for a Jewish man to commit pedophilia with a little girl 3 years and 1 day old, and they say with a little boy, it's no problem at all. Nothing to it. I'm serious. Everyone needs to read this horrible unbelievable book that these people follow. Now listen. It has to be understood that we are not dealing with the Noah of the Bible when the religion of Judaism refers to Noahide law, but the Noahide law as understood and interpreted by the absolute system of falsification that constitutes the Talmud. Under the Talmud's counterfeit Noahide laws, the worship of Jesus is forbidden under penalty of death, since such worship of Christ is condemned by Judaism as idolatry. Meanwhile, various forms of incest are permitted under the Talmud understanding of the Noahide code. Furthermore, all non-Jews would have the legal status of ger toshav, resident alien, even in their own land, as for example in occupied Palestine, where newly arrived Khazars from Russia have an automatic right to housing and citizenship, while 2 million Palestine refugees who either fled or were expelled by the Israelis are forbidden the right of return. I mean, how can anyone justify that? Those people were living there. And it wasn't always like it is now. The thing that changed it was when the Zionists got involved. And they said, hey, we're gonna give this land to the Jewish people, aka the Khazarians. Because up to that point, there's people that have talked about their mother and father being Israelis and having Palestinian friends. They would have them over for dinner or supper. They would babysit each other's kids, watch each other's kids. You think that would work now? Hell no. What happened? Well, have to cause division, have to cause pain, suffering, have to cause war. So you bring in the Zionist, and next thing you know, you've got people that are driven from where they live, from their homes, their land's taken, and they allow Khazars from Russia. They give them an automatic right to housing and citizenship, while the 2 million Palestinian refugees who either fled or were expelled are forbidden the right to return. Why were they expelled? Well, because God gave the land to the Israelis, the Jewish people, not the Palestinians. And it's like, that is that's wrong. That's wrong any way you put it. And I would be very upset, as would anybody, if you're forced to let's see, can you hear me now? Can everyone hear me? Let's see. Let's see. Doing a sound check here. there shouldn't be any reason why that. Okay. Okay, Randy, you can hear me. Okay, Patricia. Okay, Elaine. Let's see. But okay. But anyway. Okay, it says resident alien status has been clearly determined in scholarly article has been clearly defined in scholarly articles as leading Jewish publications. For example, Hebrew University professor Mordecai Nissen, basing his exposition on Jewish rabbi, stated that a non-Jew permitted to reside in a land ruled by Jewish law must accept paying a tax and suffering the humiliation of servitude. Humiliation. Why? What the hell? Why would you must pay a tax and suffering the humiliation of servitude? Why would you have to suffer humiliation? Why would you have to serve another human being? What the hell did you do? You didn't do anything to them. It's because they have the divine right. They're God's chosen people. And if you don't believe how rabid they are, how murderous they are, how hateful they are, yeah, go on YouTube and listen to what they say. I mean, they cannot stand the United States. They can't stand Christians. They can't stand Buddhists. They can't stand anybody that's not them. I'm talking, it is really bad. And like I said, they say that, yeah, we killed Jesus, or not directly killed him, but we were responsible for having him put to death. See, our hands are clean. We don't have blood on our hands because we convinced Rome that he would cause an insurrection, and so they crucified him, and they laugh about that. And they say that Jesus is now in hell, boiling in feces, and that they laugh to his screams. Okay. And I'm asking, how does these Christians, so-called Christian leaders, how can they stand with anyone who takes joy in that? And not only that, but they say that the Virgin Mary was a whore. I mean, it's horrible. But they can talk about Jesus. They put him in hell. He's boiling in excrement. But if anyone says anything about Judaism, whoa, you got a big problem. You're in trouble. You are, yeah. And that's just it. The Talmud says that a Jew can beat a non-Jew and not be charged with any crime. It's fine. But if a Gentile hits a Jew, he should die. Georgia, you say just lost power to the house and got it back? Wow. A lot of weird stuff going on tonight. People, Randy not hearing, and then Elaine not hearing, and Elaine's not back yet, so check on her. Anyway, it says if Gentiles refuse to live a life of inferiority, then this signals their rebellion and the unavoidable necessity of Jewish warfare against their very presence. Yeah, Mercury is in retrograde. Okay. I think there's a lot. I think that's the least of. Man, this is getting like really. This is going to get intense. It already is. At a symposium organized by Israeli Minister of Education Shulamat Aloni, the Israeli Chief Rabbi Shlomo Goren repeated the Talmud teaching on resident aliens that Judaism forbids granting any national rights to them. He ruled that such autonomy is tantamount to a denial of the Jewish religion. American taxpayers' subsidy of the so-called U.S. Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. is yet another indicator of the gradual establishment of the Jewish state religion in the U.S. This Holocaust Museum excludes any reference to Holocausts perpetrated by Jewish communists against Christians in Russia and Eastern Europe from 1917 onward, with the Bolshevik Revolution beginning with that. Yeah, man's trying to get me down. Well, trying is keyword. Now think about that. Think about that. The American taxpayers, they fund the U.S. Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. This Holocaust Museum does not mention anything, any reference to the Holocaust perpetrated by Jewish communists against Christians in Russia and Eastern Europe from 1917 onward, which means that the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. is about Hitler and the Holocaust, which has been said 6 million people, 6 million Jews, and then it was 4 million, and then it was 1.5 million, and now I think it's back to 4 million. They're not quite sure, but I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying that they did checks on, they checked the census of the years previous to World War II and when all that took place, and after, and there was a discrepancy because there wasn't a 6 million, there wasn't even close to 6 million people missing from the census or whatever. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm just saying, if you can figure that out, then please share. But even if it is 6 million, they're focused on that, and they're completely silent about the Jewish communist. That's what I'm talking about. This Khazarian mafia. They are communists. They're Luciferians. They're against Christians. They're against they're against actual Judaism, because well, their God is not the same God as the Christian God. That's just their God is a God of war, God of violence. Okay, they focus on only the Holocaust Museum of 6 million by Hitler, and completely are silent on the Jewish communists against Christians that killed up to 66 million Christians in Russia from 1917 onward. That's strange. That's really, really strange that they would not mention 66 million, but instead only mention the 6 million. Why is that? Well, because it wasn't Hitler killing Jews, it was Jews killing Christians, and well, that would make them look bad. But truth is truth. Anyway, so we go to the the state name of Israel. It says the misnamed State of Israel was founded in 1948 in an alliance between Jewish communists and atheistic Zionists, with crucial UN recognition provided by Soviet communist dictator Joseph Stalin. Christians might find it eye-opening to visit a Hasidic Jewish area during Purim and observe the grotesque Halloween-like cavorting. Though the Purim festival uses the Book of Esther as its supposed proof text, in practice, the Jewish celebration of Purim is little more than a bacchanal. Orthodox rabbis place curses, cast spells, and imagine that they have powers greater than God, derived from their study of the Sefer Yetzirah, book of Kabbalistic magic. Christians are trafficking in Babylonian paganism when they defer to the rabbis of Judaism. And it's nothing. It's actually Jewish superstition. The Talmud and the Kabbalah traditions and magic that they learned when they were in Babylon. Okay, we covered that. All right. So this Rabbi Schneerson that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, they went to his grave and prayed to him that that Trump would win, and he did, and the rest is history. And if you haven't read the part of the Talmud or whatever, it advocates the extermination of all non-Jews. And these Noahide laws are pretty. It is not like that. These would have to be actual laws, because it's pretty obvious that maybe common sense really. And this is This is just it here. The 7 Noahide laws is, let's see, do not worship idols. Good night, Elaine. Thanks for your help, your info, and hope you get a good night's sleep. The 7 Noahide laws: do not worship idols, and that's anything that is not their God. Do not curse God. Okay. To establish courts of justice. Now, listen to that. Now, we're talking a spiritual people, that they've suddenly become political. They want to establish courts of justice? What have I said for months? It's going to be a political and religious. Church and state are no longer going to be separate. They're going to be one in one. Do not commit murder. Well, duh. Do not commit adultery or sexual immorality. Okay. Do not steal. And then do not eat flesh torn from a living animal. Okay, well, I wouldn't want to do that anyway. According to the Talmud, the rabbis agree that the 7 laws were given to the sons of Noah. However, they disagree on precisely which laws were given to Adam and Eve. 6 of the 7 laws are derived from passages in Genesis, with the 7th being the establishing of courts. Imagine that. Imagine that. 6 of the 7 laws are derived from passages in Genesis, with the 7th being the establishing of courts. It's because they want total control. But get this. The Talmud says that that there would never be Randy, I just chuckled out loud when you said, well, duh. Oh, well, people at work probably already wonder why, if I'm crazy. That's funny. You crack me up. Anyway, it says, to establish courts of justice. But the Talmud says that the Jew will always judge the Gentile, the non-Jew. But the Gentile does not have a chance. The Gentile will never judge a Jew. Why? Again, non-Jewish people are goyim. They're subhuman. So how can a subhuman judge an actual human? You see how racist that is? Okay. Do not commit murder. That's only a law for the Gentile. In the Talmud it says, if you as a Jew want to murder a Gentile, just don't do it in your own city, your own area. Go outside of your city and murder them. And something like God will bless you for, basically taking out the garbage. I'm serious. Read it. It is just as rabid, if not more so, than the Quran. I mean, it's like, my God. Do not commit adultery or sexual immorality. Well, we've already covered that. Pedophilia is fine with them, you know. Do not steal. Well, Gentiles cannot steal from the Jewish people. Cannot steal from a Jew. But the Jew is encouraged to take, steal, and lie and deceive the Gentile by any means necessary. It means that, it says, have them work for you, promise to pay them money, and then when it comes time to pay, don't pay them. What are they going to do? They're subhuman. All right. And this is the way that I see it happening. Is Paul says in the Bible, he says, let's see. All right. Be right with you. Well. Okay. The Apostle Paul writes in the New Testament, he says, for the mystery of iniquity is already at work. He says, only he who restrains will continue to do so until he be taken out of the way. Now, there's been some question to who that restrainer is. Because, people say, well, it's the Holy Spirit. Well, no, the Bible says the Holy Spirit will remain on earth, will remain here, will not be taken out of the way. So I don't believe it's the Holy Spirit. I believe when it says he, I believe that it's talking about a certain person, a certain personality, a certain person or being that is restraining this mystery of this power of sin from, or evil from, reaching its full course. Okay? Now, but he says, until he be taken out of the way. He says, and when he be taken out of the way, he says, then that lawless one will appear, the son of perdition, the son of hell, which is, he says, with all signs and wonders, he says, to deceive those on earth. He says, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, think about this. When we have talked about CERN, we've talked about quantum computing, we've talked about a lot of things, okay? With the quantum computing, it has been said that that it would be able to um, would be able to be a surveillance 24/7 for every person on Earth. And one way that would work is by people having RFID chips, or maybe what I've imagined is some kind of biofrequency reader, or that it would be able to track us by our DNA, by our biofrequency of our DNA, which everyone has a unique frequency. Okay, now the amazing thing about that is that Jared Kushner, President Trump's senior advisor, he owned the 666 Fifth Avenue building in Manhattan, in New York. On the sixth floor of that 666 building was Lucent Technologies, which was, at one time, it was Lucifer Publications. Alice Bailey back in the 20s. Been a long time, but still, I mean, that's strange. That you have Lucent Technologies, okay, Lucifer Technologies, that's on the sixth floor of the 666 building, on 666 Fifth Avenue building, that are working on and perfecting the RFID chip. RFID biochip. Yeah, right, Randy. Exactly. Well, I'll tell you something. That's a good point. Why am I picturing scenes from The Handmaid's Tale? Yeah. You would be, well, maybe not, but most would be surprised to know that Hollywood is owned by these very people. And they take great pride in predictive programming. They know what's coming. They know what's coming, and they want people to, I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously, or if they just want to show their power, but a lot of movies, a lot of television shows, a lot of series, they're not kidding. I mean, they are really showing actual technology that is coming. And if you look at the past movies and things like that, you can see it. I mean, it's amazing how it's like they're time travelers or something. Okay. This is the way I see it. Is Jared Kushner, 38-year-old son of Charles Kushner, who real estate multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. Jared Kushner is friends with, well, the Kushner family is friends with George Soros. George Soros has loaned Jared Kushner his startup money for his different companies and things like that. And it just so happens that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is personal friends with the Kushner family. And back when Jared was in high school, Benjamin Netanyahu was in New York, or was in New Jersey, and he spent the night
at the Kushner house, and or would stay at their house and would sleep in Jared's bed, and Jared would sleep in the basement. Now this is Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the Israeli Prime Minister. Very powerful man. Very powerful. I mean, this guy does not play. This guy's for real. Okay. And if you know who Benjamin Netanyahu is, the Israeli Prime Minister, tell me what you feel about him. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to remain neutral, but I would like to know what your thoughts are on Benjamin Netanyahu, who, by the way, is being brought up on charges of bribery and corruption, and this is coming up right before the April 9th elections in Israel. Now, we come to the major Pandora's box here. The prophet Daniel says in the book of Daniel that there will be a man that will arise. Daniel calls him the little horn, who opposes and exalts himself above everything that's called God, and that he seemingly comes out of nowhere, and he's the little horn. He comes out of nowhere, and he quickly takes center stage in the world, and winds up the world ruler, aka the Antichrist. All right. Now, so Randy say only these people can do certain things, and other groups have no rights and have to just do what they're told, treated like property. Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is exactly the way they want it. And trust me, it would be completely fine for them to kill, and they would be justified in doing so. They can do what you said it, property. Not even human, it's property. You say, I looked up his picture, I knew I'd heard the name before. Yeah. Netanyahu, Jared Kushner, 38-year-old, senior advisor to President Trump, also President Trump's son-in-law. Okay. Now, the little horn, Daniel says that this little horn comes up, and with a mouth speaking pompous words, he says, and he said he has a dark countenance. Well, what he means by that is he has a stern countenance, very serious countenance. Jared Kushner, before Trump was in office, he looked like the all-American young man, Well, he becomes Trump's senior advisor, and man, his appearance changed. Look at pictures of him. Look at pictures 2015, even 2016. Look at pictures of him now. Man, you talk about, he's like really serious. Stern. He's also Jewish, of course. He is the Chabad. He's the Chabad Lubavitcher, the Rebbe Schneerson follower, whatever. In college, he was head of the Chabad Judaism group or whatever there. Okay. So Daniel says that the abomination of desolation would be when the Antichrist sets himself up in the temple of God in Jerusalem, claiming to be God. It is amazing that at this time, like right now, at this time, there are Jewish rabbis that are saying right now that their Messiah is here, and they will soon reveal his identity. And it's really, really creepy, because he also says that this man will understand dark sentences, which means that he will understand the occult, hidden things. Randy said, I got chills and I got a feeling like I had been hit in the stomach when I saw Netanyahu's picture. Just that feeling in the pit of my stomach. Yes, exactly. Why did you feel that way? Is it because he's menacing? Is it because he's so friendly looking, or is it because he looks like that he may be keeping a secret, or like he's secretly happy about something that's not good? That's the feeling I get. Anyway, Daniel says that this little horn, this man, will come up and will basically, well, you say he's dirty. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not gonna say anything right now, but yeah, he does what it takes to get the job done, and he has no problem. And from what I've read, from the information I've gathered, yeah, he is not one to be messed with. Anyway, Daniel says that that this little horn will rise up, will basically rule the world, because the world will follow after him. He says, he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time, which would be 3.5 years. Okay. Well, Daniel also says that he forms a covenant between Israel and Palestine, something that has never been done in human history, and bring peace to the Middle East, bring peace to Israel and Palestine. Okay, that's like the key. It's like the key thing that Daniel says that he does, that he will do, that he will make a peace treaty, but in the middle of that peace treaty, 3.5 years, it's a 7-year peace treaty, but in the middle of it, 3.5 years, he reneges on it, and he turns on. Daniel says he turns on the beautiful land, the holy land. He turns on Israel and attacks. And it says that that the attack will come from the far north, which is very strange because the far north happens to be where Khazaria is or was. Far north. Okay, get this. President Trump has delegated and is sending Jared Kushner, his senior advisor, who, by the way, has no political experience whatsoever. None. He is sending him to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Palestinian leader. I can't remember his name. I've got it. I know it, but I'm not gonna. Oh, Mahmoud Abbas. President Trump is sending his son-in-law Jared Kushner to the Middle East to broker a peace treaty between Israel and Palestine. Just the exact thing that Daniel says that the little horn, who is the Antichrist, will do that, will bring peace to the Middle East, will do something that no one has ever done in human history. And when he does, that the world will follow after him because he will have done something that no one has ever done in human history. And it's very strange because I saw President Trump at this fundraiser or something, at this meeting or whatever, and he says, Jared, he says, sending you to bring about, to be successful in the peace between the Palestinians and Israel. He says, and bring peace to the Middle East. He says, something that has never been done. He says, but I know that if anybody can do it, it's you, Jared. And then I noticed that that it wasn't only, I noticed that all of these men, these very strong men, these guys that, I mean, they're not intimidated by anybody, like Trump, like Netanyahu. I mean, these are hard men. I mean, especially Netanyahu. I mean, he is, nobody intimidates Netanyahu. Nobody intimidates Trump. But for some reason, oh man, it's like they are very, very nervous around Jared Kushner. And I don't understand it. It's like they're very, I don't know. They're just uneasy, maybe anxious around him. What I'm proposing is, what I'm saying is if Jared Kushner, well, since Jared Kushner has been designated as the one to go to Israel and bring about this peace treaty. And given that he is Jewish, which Daniel says that he would be Jewish, or that he would be Israeli, or whatever. Okay. Not only that, but he came out of nowhere. He rose to power, and there's magazines and news articles and reporters that are calling him President Kushner. President Trump even said, he says, my son-in-law has gotten more famous than I am. Well, okay, get this. What are the chances that Jared Kushner, who meets the criteria that Daniel puts down as far as the Antichrist, what are the chances of him buying the building at 666 5th Avenue on the 6th floor? Lucent Technologies is working on the RFID biochip to be implanted in everyone, usually in the hand. What are the chances? What I believe is since there are rabbis in Israel now that are part of this, that I believe are part of this Khazarian mafia, saying that their Messiah is here. I believe that if Jared Kushner goes, which he is, if he is successful in this, working this peace treaty, I believe that it's very, very possible that the rabbis and the 70-man Sanhedrin, 70 rabbi Sanhedrin, that the rabbis and the Sanhedrin, you have the spiritual, you have the political. I believe that they may say, they may reveal their Messiah, which would be the Antichrist, because he's going to follow the Talmud, the Talmud-based Judaism, which is Antichrist, and he will enforce it. The Bible says, and the beast, he received his power from the beast. Well, take into account that that if this is in fact the case, and it says when he sits in the temple as God, proclaiming himself to be God, and then it says he had an image made of himself, and power was given unto the image to speak as a man speaks, speak as God. I believe that could be artificial intelligence, like AI of himself, which would be, I don't know, like an idol or whatever. But as far as the global surveillance of every person and this image speaking as God, that could only be accomplished by quantum computing, which is hello CERN. And then you have the angel Abaddon, Apollyon, that comes down from heaven with the key to the bottomless pit and opens it, and the ancient tract of land where the Large Hadron Collider is currently at is an ancient site of Apollo. So we've got all these things that are coming together, and I just want to read one thing here. This is an article that that I saw when I was getting ready right before the show, and this is Veterans Today. Well, wait a minute. Okay, let's see. Okay. Newsweek, March 10th, 2019. Jared Kushner is beating heart of corrupt and deeply evil Trump administration, Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe says. Jared Kushner says, Lawrence Tribe, a professor of constitutional law at Harvard Law School, slammed President Donald Trump's son-in-law of Jared Kushner in a tweet this weekend, suggesting he would soon be exposed as a traitor. Now, keep in mind, there's rabbis right now in Israel for the first time that are saying that their Messiah is here on earth and they are about to reveal who he is. This guy's saying Jared Kushner will soon be exposed as a traitor. Okay? If he turns out to be the Messiah that the so-called Jewish people are waiting on, well, that would be the definition of a traitor. I mean, if he takes over, but keep in mind that it actually wouldn't be he actually wouldn't be a traitor, because he would be the global leader. He wouldn't be a traitor. He would be a global leader. So I made a mistake saying that. He would be basically the king of the world. So, says, sharing a long Twitter thread by attorney and academic Seth Abramson, who is also a columnist for Newsweek, Tribe on Saturday referred to Kushner as a swarmy, slimy, and smiling. As swarmy, smiling, and slimy and smiling. Kushner, who is married to Ivanka Trump, was appointed by the president as senior White House advisor in January 2017. Jared Kushner of 666 Fifth Avenue is the beating heart of this unprecedented, corrupt, and deeply evil administration, Tribe wrote. He'll eventually be exposed as insatiably greedy Benedict Arnold. So I'm just reading this. I'm not saying that I'm not going to say, I'm not going to call anybody evil. I'm not going to say they're good. I'm not going to say they're evil. I say look at what they do. Look at their actions. Tribe is referring to the infamous General Benedict Arnold, an early hero of the American Revolution against the British, who later switched sides and betrayed his young nation in 1779. Abramson's thread, shared by a tribe, laid out a case for why Kushner is allegedly the greatest domestic danger to America. The attorney and columnist made the claim after many months of research for a forthcoming book titled Proof of Conspiracy. Many former U.S. government officials know for a fact that what I've just said is true, Abramson wrote in his first tweet in the series. Now, if you remember, about a week or two ago, the intelligence agencies, CIA or whatever, they pulled everybody's temporary security clearance, including Jared Kushner's. And what happened is Trump intervened and gave Jared Kushner's back his security clearance, highest security clearance, or one of the highest, despite objections from those in the intelligence community, who obviously had reasons to be worried about that. And I'm asking myself, that doesn't make sense. I mean, here you have a sitting president. He has advisors, that they probably don't want to say, hey, look, we didn't want to zero out, zone in on your son-in-law and just take his security clearance. So we took everybody's. But then you turn around, because you're president, you have the power to do this, although it's very strange, very rare that any president would do it, and gives him back the clearance that was revoked, was taken away. My question is why? Did Kushner tell him? Did Kushner tell Trump, hey, I want my clearance back? And if so, why did he need that kind of clearance? For what reason? As usual, who benefits? That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Abramson wrote in his first tweet in the series, Kushner is going to get us into a devastating war with Iran. God, let's hope not. Jared single-handedly. Jared to make money for himself, the attorney wrote. I'll say now that Jared more richly deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life than Manafort, and Manafort richly deserves to be, he argued. That's how bad it is. Don't believe anything you hear from Kushner's attorney or from Kushner, ever. The latter will always be lying to you, and the former will either be lying to you or will have been lied to by his client. Abramson continued. Then he pointed to the reports surrounding Kushner's top security clearance, and I have not read this, which he allegedly was granted despite disapproval of intelligence agencies and top administration officials. Trump circumventing our intelligence community to give his son-in-law the access is the shibboleth that made the current danger to America possible, Abramson warned. I know I didn't pronounce that shibboleth right. I think it's shibboleth. Anyway, our foreign policy is totally off the rails in a way that is dangerous, and the sole reason for this is the Kushner-Trump axis. Notice they didn't say Trump-Kushner axis. Kushner-Trump axis. Our values have been betrayed in ways that we may shortly feel so keenly our heads will spin. We need whistleblowers to blow their whistles now, he said. Abramson also argued that Kushner should go to prison for a very long time. Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, and top intelligence officials opposed granting Kushner access to viewing sensitive top-secret materials pertaining to the nation's security. According to a recent report from the New York Times, however, the president reportedly ordered his son-in-law be granted the clearance, allegedly disregarding the objections. So, again, you have to ask, why? Well, this lawyer says, Abramson, he talks about that Kushner, that he says he sees Kushner as getting us into a devastating war with, you got it, what did I say earlier? The only country out of the 7 that were scheduled to be toppled, the only one that's left is Iran. And I told you about on each side of Israel, they want supposedly they want the land to be safe, secure on both sides of Israel. I'm thinking they just want the oil, to be honest with you. Maybe the oil and just knowing that they're secure, that, Anyway, so let's say Kushner does do that. Then the people in power in what's Israel, and I'm not talking about the true Israelis. I want to make that clear. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those who claim to be Israelis and are not, but are the Khazarian Mafia, the Pharisees, whatever you want to call it, that follow the Babylon Talmud, and that want to dominate the world, want to rule the world, and want to put everybody else to death, and want to be served by everyone else if they're not, if they don't put them to death. Want to enact these Noahide laws. And that may be something that has already been signed. And think about this. Trump signed and declared that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel, or that he was going to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel and recognize Israel as the capital of the Middle East, of Israel. And that's huge. And they're currently, this is even bigger, they're currently making plans to rebuild the third temple. Well, Daniel says that the Antichrist will sit in the temple of God, declaring himself to be God. In order to do that, there has to be a temple, right? It's all coming down. It's all coming down the pipe. And I'm saying that that to watch Kushner, because with this peace treaty being the main sign of who the Antichrist will be, if Kushner does this on April the 9th, which, by the way, is the same day that the Israeli elections are. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. Like I said, he's facing charges on bribery and corruption. What would divert people's attention away from that than saying, "Hey, our Messiah is here"? I don't know. It's just a lot. It's more than coincidence. So anyway, there's more, and I will continue to in our next podcast, I will give more information. This is just a lot to cover, but like I said, try not to trust anything that you hear on the media, that you hear from the media, any news, anything that you're told, because they definitely have an agenda. And isn't it amazing that they blame and talk about everyone else, but the media blames and talks about everyone else, but you never hear anything criticizing or against Israel or the Jewish state or the Zionists. So, April the 9th, this is March 11th. So I guess we'll just sit back and see what happens and just keep our eyes and ears open and hearts open. Anyway, I'm going to call it a night here. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for those of you that took part in the live chat. Thank you for those of you that didn't but listened, and thank you for those who are listening to the rebroadcast. Again, please understand that I'm not being racist. I'm not even picking a political side. I'm not picking on anyone. I'm just simply presenting facts, truth as I see it, and but no hard feelings towards anybody, any race, any creed, any belief system. Love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.